Hello everybody, Wannabe Reviewer here, and welcome back to the Wannabe Podcast, episode 15. And before we begin this week's podcast, really quickly, I just wanted to say that I know not all of you who listen to this podcast are huge gamers, but for those of you that are, pretty big gamers, such as myself, are any of you just having trouble keeping up with all the releases of video games every month? I mean, seriously, alright? Last night and the night before that, I had been looking at a few top most anticipated video games coming out this year list, and that made me realize there's just so many games coming out that I want to play. And so today, before I signed up the podcast, pulled up a list of games coming out in just January, and it's just incredible, man. We have Travis Strikes Again, we have Kingdom Hearts 3, Resident Evil 2 Remake, The Walking Dead, Season 3, Episode 3, Life is Strange, 2, Episode 2, what else is there? There's the, I forget what you call that, like, remake / port of, New Super Mario Brothers Wii U Deluxe or whatever. Like, there's just so many games coming out, and, man, I want to play all of them, but there is just not enough time in the day, And it's just incredible. So, I don't know. Like I said, I've just been thinking about that since like yesterday and then a little bit of today. So for any of you who, love to game, let me know. Are you having trouble catching up with all these releases? Because holy crap, man, there's just too much stuff coming out all the time. And it's just making it really hard, both on the wallet and on my, just time. There's not enough time in the day. So I don't know. I'm just kind of ranting there. With that being said, let's dive into my week, I guess, and as always, we'll start with manga. Now, truth be told, I didn't really do much this week in the way of manga. Basically, what I did is that some of the manga that I've mentioned the last, few weeks, basically just read some more of those, alright? Just a couple chapters here and there. So, Sleepy Princess in the Demon Castle, which I just talked about last week, read a few more chapters and continue to enjoy it. It's still really fun, really creative. I think the way that they have all these issues befall the princess as she's trying to just get a good night's sleep is interesting. I mean, how do you make it work chapter after chapter? I don't know, but they keep making, there's all these creative stories of her just dealing with all sorts of dumb issues around the castle and getting into all sorts of shenanigans. So I continue to enjoy it and I continue to recommend it. A Bride Story, read some more of that. I've talked about this manga on the podcast a few times. Really love this manga, really good. The story is good, the characters are good, the art is phenomenal, and just being able to really look at this manga and feel like you're connecting with like a culture because it's takes place in Central Asia during the, I believe it's 19th century, I want to say. I think it's the 19th century, but yeah, just being able to like really look at this manga and feel like you're a part of that culture, seeing like a glimpse into it, really interesting. So I continue to recommend that. And finally, I also read chapter 13.5 of It's Tough Being Neeko. There hasn't really been like a full chapter. 13.5 was basically like a mini shorter chapter. But, I read that. Continues to be pretty good. And I mean, like I said, that one's the shortest and the newest out of any of the manga I've talked about on the podcast, but I'm excited to see more of it. As I've said before, it's interesting seeing how it really shows the life of this girl who feels like she's kind of, stuck and her trying to deal with being a NEET and wanting to move ahead. So yeah, I look forward to more of that. Hopefully more chapters come out soon. So moving on though, I did watch a lot of anime this week, all right? Not only did I watch more of stuff I've been watching before, like Reincarnated as a Slime and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, even though that was like the last episode, I haven't watched the newest episode. The last episode was kind of like a recap sort of weird thing, but still, watch that. But new anime from this winter 2019 season, I watched 3 different shows, and so far all of them are really good, all right? So the first one I want to talk about is Mob Psycho 100 Season 2. Now, if you've been listening to a podcast, you know that, a few weeks back, I talked about how there was a trailer. I talked about how I loved the first season, how I was excited for the second season, all that good stuff. And yeah, I watched the first episode and I really enjoyed it. There wasn't a lot of action or anything. Not too much happened in the way of like story. At least I don't think so, based on what I saw. But it was still just a really nice episode that helps you like dive back into the universe, you know? Basically, it's all about Mob and how he wants to run for student council president. And, you know, he's trying to impress that girl that he likes. And of course, some stuff happens there that it's interesting. The way the anime deals with that and doesn't go the way you think it's going to go. That was really funny. And then it's all about him. And there's this girl that, yeah, I'm not going to really spoil it, but there's this girl that asks him out, and all that stuff that happens there is really interesting, very cute, really heartwarming. And yeah, we just see more of him fighting. I mean, him and his master, I forget if you pronounce it like Reagan. I forget how you pronounce his name, but he and, you know, Mob go to this farm, and there's this like scarecrow ghost thing that's like ruining all the fields and sucking up all the nutrients from the crops. They fight that thing, and yeah, I mean, I don't know, the show's just really fun. Even though the first episode, you know, not much happened, I really enjoyed it, and I just really enjoy being back in that universe. And I like how, you know, it plays with, like, I guess you can say tropes. Like, there's stuff you think's gonna go one way and it goes a different way. So I just thought it was really interesting, and I'm really excited to see what more happens in this season. Because I've heard from manga readers that, you know, as Mob Psycho keeps going, it's supposed to have like some really interesting storylines and stuff that happen. So definitely looking forward to more. Speaking of looking forward to more, I watched The Promised Neverland. And wow, that first episode sets up a lot of stuff, and I really look forward to seeing where that anime goes. All right. I'm going to try to avoid spoilers as much as I can, but basically there's this orphanage and there's all these kids that live in it. And they've been living there basically their whole lives. They've known each other since they were basically like babies. And our three like main characters are Emma, Nathan, and Ray. Emma is this girl with like spiky like red hair. Nathan is this boy with white hair. And Ray is this like emo-ish looking kid with black hair. And out of all the kids in that orphanage, they're like at the very top because they're like the smartest, the coolest, the best, whatever. And they're friends. And basically, you know, they live on this orphanage, and even though, you know, they're at the top or whatever, they still love all the other kids. All the kids in the orphanage think of each other as family, and they just live on this orphanage with this lady that they call Mother that takes care of them. And surrounding the orphanage, there's like woods and there's like these fences everywhere, and Mother always tells them to not wander, you know, past these fences that are everywhere. Basically, she wants them to stay in a certain area. And they've never really questioned it. I mean, it seems like at the beginning of the series, they're beginning to really question why there's all these fences everywhere, why they're kind of being told to not wander too far, that sort of thing. And yeah, I mean, they're starting to get curious, but they haven't really bothered to break any rules and wander off because they respect what the mom has to say. You know, they're kind of afraid to wander off, I guess. And so we see their lives at this orphanage, how they all play together, that sort of thing. They're all hoping to get adopted one day. And one day, a little girl that always carries a stuffed bunny, she gets adopted. And so the mom takes her, you know, beyond the fence or gate, whatever you call it. And she's going to take her to, you know, meet her new family. And Emma, you know, like I said, the girl protagonist, she notices that the little girl whose name is Connie left behind her stuffed bunny. And she takes her bunny with her everywhere. So the fact that she left her bunny is like a big deal. And she freaks out. And Nathan basically tells her like, oh, well, I can still see I forget if it's like a lantern or something. I think they had like a lantern with them, you know. And he says like, oh, I can still see like mom's lantern like in the distance. That means that, you know, Connie's new family probably hasn't come for her yet. So let's go like give her the bunny. And so they rush off. They're going to give Connie the bunny back. They, you know, break the rules for like the first time in their life by passing the fence gate thing. And that's kind of where I have to stop, unfortunately, because it's going to be spoilers. But what they see on the other side of that like fence gate thing is something that turns their world upside down. And it makes them go like, wow, we need to escape this orphanage. Like, we are not safe here. Everything we think is a lie. And we need to protect one another. And like I said, it's hard to talk about without spoiling it, but it's like really interesting. And it's the kind of thing where I'm like, wow, like how will they survive? Like how will they manage to escape from the orphanage? Because I don't know, it's the kind of thing where I feel like the odds are definitely against them. And I'm really interested to see how they get, 12 episodes out of this. Will most of the episodes be of them trying to escape the orphanage? Will most of the episodes be of them escaping the orphanage and it's about them like in the outside, world, so to speak? Like, what is it going to be? And I don't know. Like I said, it's hard to talk about without spoiling it because it's really crazy, but I really love it so far. I think it's really good, and I am really interested to see more of it. Like, when I watched the first episode, it's the kind of thing that made me go, oh my god, I wish there was more, because it was just really good. So definitely recommend it, guys. It's called The Promised Neverland. Alrighty, and finally, the last anime that I checked out, and I actually watched 2 episodes of it, compared to the other 2 I talked about, I only watched 1. This one, for whatever reason, 2 episodes dropped on like the same day, which is weird. Not sure why they do that, but it's this anime called Boogiepop and Others. I believe it's also called Boogiepop Never Smiles, in some translations or whatever, but yeah. So Boogiepop and Others, at least that's the way it's labeled on Crunchyroll, is this really, really strange anime that has like a weird mystery, psychological, like horror thing going on. Like, it kind of reminds me a bit of like Paranoia Agent and Serial Experiments Lane, in the sense that it always has like a really weird aura to it, very like dark, very mysterious, very really like creepy. And basically, I'm glad they released the 2 episodes because you kind of need the both of them to kind of understand what's happening. But basically, in this universe, there's this Shinigami, aka like Death God, called Boogiepop. And Boogiepop, when we see it says that it's here because there's a monster it needs to defeat. And so in the first episode, it's all about this guy who's supposed to meet his girlfriend, after school at a certain location. She doesn't show up. And then she sees him talking to like this crying man and she's dressed like in this weird outfit, and she's talking to this crying man, and she seems to have like a totally different personality. And later when he confronts, who he thinks is his girlfriend, this character, the main character guy, he sees that she says that no, she's actually Boogiepop. And like I said, Boogiepop is here because it needs to destroy a monster that's lurking in their school. And so the first episode is all about him dealing with like, okay, does my girlfriend have like a split personality? What's happening? When she's dressed like this, she seems to have like some mysterious powers. It's really weird. And yeah, basically he spent the whole episode, the whole first episode being like really confused because you're not really sure what's happening. Then when you watch the second episode, kind of fills you in a little bit better. Basically what's happening in the background is that there's this monster called Echoes that came from space, and the government tried to experiment on him, and when they did, they made a clone. And the clone, I forget what it ends up getting called. It's like the Greek word for man-eater. I would have to look it up. But basically that clone is at the school, which is what Boogiepop mentioned in the first episode, and there's this student that teams up with the man-eater. And he starts like a romantic relationship with it. And he's helping that clone of the original alien. He's helping it by, bringing in girls that it either eats or puts under its control. And it's kind of trying to take over the world, I guess is the best way to explain it. And so I don't know. It's really hard to explain because it's just really weird. But yeah, basically what you have to know is that there's an alien running around that is here supposedly to like observe Earth. And the government tried to experiment on him. And so he's loose right now, but he's in hiding. His clone is running around as a man-eater, killing teenage girls, and there's a student helping him. And then there's Boogiepop, which is apparently like a death god that is possessing this like main character guy's girlfriend. And so Boogiepop's mission is to kill the man-eater. And I don't know, there's just all these things going on. It's really weird, hard to explain, but it's very interesting. It's very interesting, like I said, in that like creepy, what's happening, like sci-fi mystery sort of way. And I mean, I'll recommend it. If any of what I've said sounds interesting, I recommend it. But I know it's not going to be for everybody because it's definitely the kind of anime that's like all over the place. And it's like a weird like head scratcher. So yeah. Moving on, when it comes to TV shows, Didn't really watch anything. I watched an episode of the new Mystery Science Theater. I want to say it's like season 12 at this point. I watched the first episode where they make fun of Mac and me, and like that was really funny, but you know, I didn't really watch the whole thing, so I'll see if maybe I talk about that later when I watch the whole season. When it comes to movies, didn't have a chance to go out, didn't watch any new movies. However, when it comes to video games, I mean, I guess you can technically call it a video game, but as I said during last week's podcast, and I've talked about it a bit, you know, here and there, I'm super excited for Kingdom Hearts 3, and, you know, as I'm waiting for it to come out, I just found out that apparently if you play the mobile game, Kingdom Hearts Union Key, if you play that and you do like these little mini games in it, and you get like a high enough score, you can actually get a code to unlock like a certain Keyblade in Kingdom Hearts 3. So basically, I've been doing that a bit here and there. I mean, does it really count as a video game? I mean, I'm not one to really count mobile games as video games necessarily, but I mean, I've been playing that, you know, just full disclosure. I've been playing that because I really want to get that Keyblade in Kingdom Hearts 3. So yeah, and the minigames are fun. Basically, they're based on like kind of like Game & Watch style games where it's just like very low, like pixely, and it's like, you know, simple movements and stuff. But they're pretty fun. I mean, there's one where you have to like do fishing. There's one where you're trying to not get stomped on by a giant. There's one where you're like serving food or whatever. And yeah, I mean, pretty fun stuff, you know, so at least it's not like a total grind. But, you know, it is a grind in the sense you have to get a certain score in order to get like that Keyblade code. So like I said, been doing that. Haven't been totally hating the experience. So there you go. Alrighty, with that being said, that's it for my week. So how about we transition over to the news? And the first news story I want to talk about, I actually think it's really funny because, man, it's crazy how things come like full circle, I guess you can say. During the first episode of the podcast, I talked about a story that 15 weeks later, here we are talking about it again. All right. So the story I'm talking about is that apparently Nintendo, I'll just read the title of the article. Nintendo crushes Bowsette as canon dreams. Clarifies that only Toadette can use the Super Crown. So basically, like I said, if you guys, you know, 15 weeks ago, basically Bowsette, which is like a gender-bent version of Bowser, it was all the rage. Everyone was making fan art of it. You know, people on Twitter are making fan art of it, you know, whether they were like professionals or just like amateurs. Everyone was making like their own versions of it, making fan art of it. The memes were everywhere. I know a lot of people at cons were dressing up as Bowsette. Like basically it was just a meme that was out of control. And, you know, since then, I guess some fans had been asking Reggie, you know, the Nintendo of America president, they were asking him if Bowsette, you know, like what he thought about it. Like, you know, is she canon? Do you guys plan to make her canon in one of the games? Like, what do you guys think, I guess? And he had always just said no comment because, I mean, I don't know. I guess he didn't really know what to say. And now there's a story about how on the Nintendo website where they talk about the new game, they basically said, when Toadette finds one of these, referring to the Super Crown, she can transform into the super-powered Peachette. And then parentheses, sorry, Luigi, only Toadette can use this item. So, yeah, basically, they've kind of said that, you know, the only one who can use the Super Crown is Toadette, so any Bowsette or whatever isn't canon. They're never going to put in a game. Only Toadette can use the item. And I find it weird that they threw Luigi under the bus. Not really sure what's up with that. I did a little bit of research, and apparently it's supposed to be a joke because Luigi has cross-dressed as Peach before. I think like in the manga or something. I mean, I don't know. It still seems really weird that they throw Luigi under the bus like that. But yeah, so sorry folks, but Bowsette, at least in the canon Mario universe, is not real. So all of you hoping that Best Waifu would make it into, you know, Mario Kart 9 or stuff like that, not gonna happen, guys. But hey, I mean, don't be too let down. At least you can always make your fan art, right? So there you go. Well, that story was, you know, probably disappointing to quite a few people. This story is uplifting, and I'm pretty excited about it. Now, I don't know if any of you have seen my video on on my YouTube channel titled 7 Games That Sega Should Revive. I believe the title's something like that, but basically it's a video I made where I talk about 7 Sega franchises that would be cool if they were like revived, rebooted, whatever. And one of them that I talked about was the Panzer Dragoon series, which is basically like a rail shooter where you're flying around like on a dragon's back and you're, shooting at stuff. And I really enjoyed those games back in the day. And I thought it would be really cool if we, got a new one. And while we're not getting a new game, this new story talks about how Forever Entertainment announces Panzer Dragoon 1 and 2 Remake that's supposed to be out by the end of 2019. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, while it's not a new game per se or a revival, the fact that we're getting a remake is pretty cool. I mean, that at least shows that Sega still has the series in mind, I guess. So that's cool. I know a lot of people are a little bit wary because Forever Entertainment is like a no-name company that I don't think has really done anything. But I mean, I don't know. Panzer Dragoon is a very simple game. It's a rail shooter. That seems like something that would be pretty hard to, screw up. But I mean, I don't know. Hopefully they don't screw it up. But still, I don't know. I think this news story is really cool because I just think, like I said, the fact that this series that has been kind of laying dormant for a while, the fact that it's getting some sort of new treatment, I like that, and I'm looking forward to that. So I think it's pretty cool. So I don't know if any of you have any love for the Panzer Dragoon series, but, if you like the series, there you go. There's some remakes coming out, so look forward to those. Speaking of look forward to it, they finally released the release date for Yoshi's Crafted World, and it says here that Yoshi's Crafted World is scheduled to come out March 29, 2019, which... yeah, finally. I mean, it's been like 2 years since this game was announced, and they kept not giving any information on when it would come out. And so, yeah, it's good that there's finally a release date, finally people know when they can play it, because I don't know what it is about these Yoshi games, but they have these long development cycles, you know what I mean? Like, I know Yoshi's Woolly World, it was like the same thing where it just took forever to come out, I think, if I remember correctly. So once again, I don't know if you guys have any love for the series, but I had a lot of fun with Yoshi's Woolly World. I think that like the mechanics of it were like really fun. I think the aesthetic was really cool. I think the gameplay is cool because it's the kind of thing where it's very easy to play the game, but it takes a bit more to like master it, if that makes sense. Like, oh yeah, you can totally like run through the whole level easily. It's basically like, you could say it's a game made for kids or whatever. But if you want to like get 100%, that's where it takes some more skill, I would say. And I don't know, I had a ton of fun with Yoshi's Woolly World. From what I've seen of Yoshi's Crafted World from like the trailers, it looks pretty interesting, looks really cool. And yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. And luckily it's coming out in like 2 months. So there you go. Speaking of Nintendo Switch stuff coming out, Nintendo Switch is on a roll, and pun intended, I guess, because there's this game that has been out for a while that I had never heard of that is getting a Nintendo Switch port. And that is the OlliOlli series, which, it's going to be ported to the Nintendo Switch, and it's going to be the first 2 games, and they're going to be called OlliOlli Switch Stance, coming February 14. And yeah, I mean, I used to love playing skating games, such as, like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I used to like playing Skate back in the day, Skate 1, 2, 3, whatever. And yeah, I think it's a real big shame that skateboarding games don't really get made anymore. I mean, it just seems like they kind of, I don't know, it's just one of those genres that have kind of died out. So hearing that there's going to be this little like skateboarding game coming to the Switch is pretty cool. You can watch the announcement trailer. It's going to be, part of the article that I'm linking. But yeah, it just looks really fun. Basically, it's this like 2D, like pixel art game where, let me see if I can actually pull up the part where it talks about the controls real quick. I'm looking if it has the part with the controls. I'd read about it somewhere. I can't find the controls right now. Maybe it was something where I looked deeper into it. But basically, from what I've heard, it's supposed to be like really easy, where basically you just hit the I think it's just like one button, the control stick, and the like triggers, I think, and that's it. It's something like that, where it's only a few buttons, but apparently it's the kind of thing where it's easy to play, hard to master, where you just have to keep trying to like do tricks successfully, landing them at the perfect time. And yeah, I mean, from what I've seen of like the gameplay, looks really fun, and I don't know, I look forward to playing it. So in case you guys are always, on the lookout for a fun indie game to play on your Nintendo Switch, there you go. OlliOlli Switch Stance coming February 14. Finally, the last game I want to talk about is The Walking Dead, the final season, finally has an episode 3 trailer. Now, this is another story that has kind of come full circle from the first week, but back during the first week, it was all about me talking about how Telltale Games was shutting down, The Walking Dead, the final season was going to be left incomplete, and for a while, a lot of fans were disappointed, because they want to know how the story ends. They had already paid for the season pass, all that good stuff. And yeah, Telltale was just closing down and leaving the story incomplete. After that, not too long after, Skybound Games is a studio that picked it up and said that they were going to work on finishing the final season. And yeah, they announced not too long back that they were working on it. And sure enough, we got the episode 3 trailer. And that's supposed to be the penultimate episode. And like I said, it's supposed to come out January 15th on all systems. And the trailer's it's cool. It looks basically, the graphics look the same as they always were. And it's kind of cool because there's this moment where, slight spoilers, not really, but there's a part where I guess like Clementine's having a hard time and she seems to have like a hallucination / like little like image of Lee talking to her, which is really cool. And I don't know. I had kind of fallen off of the whole Walking Dead train since the 3rd season, because after I played the 3rd season, I was just like really disappointed because it was just really crappy. But I don't know. Now that I know that the game's gone through a lot and I know that, it is finally going to get finished, all that good stuff, maybe I'll play it, just for the heck of it. That way I know how the story ends. So I don't know. But yeah, if you guys are Walking Dead video game series fans, there you go. The 3rd season has been announced and it should come out in actually a few days. So there you go. Alrighty, moving away from the video game news and onto like movie stuff. Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. I watched it. I loved it. I thought it was really good. I thought the animation was awesome. I thought the story was awesome. I thought the inclusion of all the characters was great, etc. I praised it a lot when I talked about it before. And likewise, a lot of people have enjoyed the movie. It's doing really well. And I don't know if unfortunately you could say it's doing a little too well, because this next story is all about how Sony is contemplating Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse TV spin-offs, which I don't know. Like if you read the article, the stuff they want to do, like, okay, it makes sense, it would be kind of fun to have, TV spin-offs of different, Spider-Verse characters. Like, it would be kind of cool to have maybe like a Spider-Man Noir show that's all about, Spider-Man Noir fighting crime in the 1930s or whatever. And, maybe it really would be cool to see like a Spider-Ham sort of, cartoon that's very slapstick, but with like the superhero gimmick, like that could be fun. Or, maybe even like a cartoon where maybe all of them team up some more, It sounds like, okay, it's a good idea. But the bad thing is that, I don't know. I thought what made Spider-Verse so special, and that I mentioned, kind of makes me realize that a lot of other superhero movies are lacking, is that I like that it felt like a big event. Like compared to other movies where like, we're just getting superhero after superhero going on random adventures that don't really amount to much. This felt like it mattered because it was the introduction of a brand new, Spider-Man origin story, while we're also getting like a huge team up crossover event. And so I don't know, for them to just do a cartoon where they're just showing these characters all the time, I feel like that kind of like cheapens it a little bit. And not only that, but the animation style of this movie was just so unique and it was like really special. And I feel like a cartoon probably wouldn't capture that. Because let's be honest, it's probably really expensive to pull off the sort of animation they did in the movie. So the cartoon's probably just going to be regular animation, it's just going to look very, whatever. So I don't know. While it sounds cool in certain aspects, on the other side, I don't know. I really just wish Sony would stop with all these spin-offs and stuff, that you guys finally struck gold with this. And I understand that you guys are excited to, further elaborate on that. But I don't know. I feel like what made it special, it might lose that if they make it into a series. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, I guess. Let's see here. This next one I thought was really interesting, and I definitely learned a lot, so that's why I want to talk about it. I don't know why this is in the news lately, but apparently there was this article talking about Donald Duck and his military service, and so I don't know, it's just really funny, right? I'm just gonna read the first paragraph, right? So it says, a recent tweet showcases how seriously some people take the subject of Donald Duck's military service. The beloved Disney icon, who can currently be seen as part of the cast of the DuckTales revamp, has a surprisingly long record of serving the United States as both a member of its Army and Navy. Astonishingly, that record does not exist entirely within the realm of fiction. And yeah, okay, so in the past, I knew that Donald Duck was in the Navy. I mean, that's obvious based on his little, sailor uniform, right? And I did, in fact, remember that there's an episode of DuckTales, I want to say it's the first episode, where it shows him leaving the boys with Uncle Scrooge because he's going to go serve in the, Navy or whatever, right? And that's what it talks about here, that people apparently found that clip, and they were surprised because they thought that his sailor uniform was just, a joke, I guess. And so yeah, from there, this whole article is really interesting because it talks about the history of Donald Duck being a, what would you call it? An honorary member of the armed forces. So it says right here, oh, actually, hold on. Because I would have to read the tweet too, but basically in the tweet, it talks about how he's been part of the Army and the Navy during different parts of World War II, blah, 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 blah. So now skipping back. So it says, as silly as this may sound, all of the information conveyed in this conversation is accurate. Donald was officially enlisted in the United States Army during World War II, during which time he starred in a series of 7 animated shorts that parodied the experiences of many a drafted soldier. Donald was later given an official promotion to Buck Sergeant and dishonorably discharged from the United States Army in 1984 as part of the celebration of his 50th birthday. 3 years later, in the original DuckTales cartoon series, Donald's nephews were sent to live with their great uncle Scrooge McDuck. Due to Donald's enlistment in the United States Navy, he was officially addressed as Seaman Duck. Sorry. I know it's super immature, I'm so sorry. During his later appearances on the show. It should be noted, however, that Donald has never officially been enlisted in the United States Navy, but he was given the rare honor of being declared an honorary member of the United States Navy and United States Marine Corps. He's also a member of the Screen Actors Guild and an honorary graduate of the University of Oregon, where he served as the school mascot from 1943 to 2010. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know this is a really random article. I know in the end, it's kind of silly to discuss a fictional character's enlistment in the Army and as a, honorary graduate of the University of Oregon, but I just think it's really interesting how sometimes a TV mascot becomes so big that they do stuff like this, you know what I mean? I know that Mickey Mouse has apparently been in the Army as well. I believe Bugs Bunny is also an honorary United States Marine Corps member, stuff like that. And so I don't know, it's just interesting. And I just really enjoyed reading the article. I thought it was funny to see people be really serious and saying that you have to respect him for his duties. And I thought it was really cool learning about the different stuff he's done. And so yeah, there you have it, folks. You learned more about Donald Duck, hopefully. Apparently Donald Duck is a war veteran, and he's done a lot in his life. So there you go. Moving on, the next story is all about Netflix's Carmen Sandiego animated series and how it has a new trailer. So basically, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Carmen Sandiego. She's been, computer games that help with geography and puzzles and logic. She had an animated series back in the 90s, that sort of thing. And I've always enjoyed the Carmen Sandiego franchise. I've played some of the games. They're pretty fun, for being educational games. And I've watched the cartoon, and I thought that was really fun. I thought it was I actually had some pretty good writing and moments and stuff. And so basically, in the original animated series, Carmen Sandiego is this thief who dresses in red, and she runs around the world stealing, priceless artifacts and leaving clues of where she'll strike next. And so it's up to this brother and sister spy duo to bring her down, right? And, as you watch the series, you see that sometimes she acts as an anti-hero where she wants to steal stuff, which is bad, but she is the lesser of two evils compared to people who want to use it for more nefarious reasons. For her, basically, it's all about stealing it, for the sport of it, compared to other people who want to keep the artifacts to do bad things to them. And so, like I said, cartoon was really interesting. And in this new iteration, if you watch the trailer, they are changing it up a little bit. here, instead of her being like she's still stealing, but the premise here is that she went to the training academy for thieves, but when she saw like all the thieves around her and she saw how people want to hurt others, she decided that she's gonna steal the artifacts before like the other bad guys can. I guess, like I said, so that they don't use it for like nefarious purposes. And a lot of people don't like this new approach of her being like an protagonist who is trying to like, get to the artifacts before the bad guys do. Because they feel that, okay, like in the original series, she was more of a clear-cut thief, I think that honestly, it ends up being almost the same thing. She's always never been like completely evil. She's always had more of like, kind of like a relatable side. They've always kind of made her kind of sympathetic. So I don't know. For me, doesn't seem like that big of a problem. But it's that, a lot of people seem really upset with this new format. And I'm just kind of confused why, because it feels like it's almost the same thing. Like it's getting tweaked a little bit, but people are acting like it's a big deal. And I don't know. I'm excited to see the series. Hopefully, if it's as good as like the 90s series, with like music and lots of different locations and stuff like that, I think it'll be good. I know the person who's voicing the new Carmen Sandiego. She's the star of Jane the Virgin. I've never seen that show, but I've heard she's a pretty good actress. So, I would hope she does a good job. And I know that the kid who comes out in Stranger Things, he's supposed to voice a character known as Player, which I guess is like the person that, Carmen Sandiego talks to, because she's supposed to be like in the game or whatever. So, like I said, I don't know. I think that it sounds interesting, and I look forward to watching it. And if it's as good as the 90s series, then great. Other people are bothered by it. I guess they don't like that some stuff is getting tweaked. But honestly, I don't even think it's that big of a deal. I think it's like very minor tweaks. And I don't know. I just think that everyone should just give the show a chance, watch it. And, after you've watched it, then you can say all your opinions. But I don't know. Until then, I would say just give it a shot, Finally, the last story I want to talk about is that Konosuba is getting an English dub, and the cast has been revealed. So, honestly, half of the cast, I don't really know who they are. I don't really know who the guy who voices Kazuma is. Upon looking up his profile, it seems like he hasn't really done too much. I looked up the girl who does Aqua, and while she's been in a lot of anime, and stuff like that. Once again, not really stuff I've seen before. However, I'm really excited for this because the one doing Megumin and the one doing Darkness are two voice actresses that I really like. So voicing Megumin is Erica Mendez, who I don't know if you guys know, but among other things, she actually voiced Retsuko in the new Netflix Agretsuko show. So yeah, I think she does a great job in that. I've heard her in a few things. That makes me excited. And likewise, Darkness is being voiced by Christina V, who, among other things, so she does all sorts of, stuff. She voices Shantae in the Shantae series. I think she voices a lot of the female characters, and she sings like the main theme song. And so I love Christina V. I think she's awesome. So I'm not too sure about, Kazuma's voice actor and Aqua's voice actor. I do have faith in Megumin and Darkness's voice actresses. And yeah, I'm just excited because as much as I love the original, Konosuba, with the Japanese dub, I think it getting an English dub is a good thing. I've never been one of those people to hate on dubs. Even if I don't like it, I still think a dub is good because the more people can be, I don't know, I guess you can say the wider audience that can be reached, the better. And so, yeah, even if it ends up being something that isn't my taste, I'm excited for this. And I'm hoping it is my taste because like I said, I love two of those voice actresses for sure. And so I'm looking forward to it. And I don't know if it has a release date for when the dub is supposed to come out. I'm going to look really quick. Yes, it says that it will release. It says, the dubs of the first Konosuba series will debut on Crunchyroll on January 15. All right, so that's actually pretty soon. A lot of stories I've talked about really soon. And yeah, I'm really excited because Konosuba is a great anime. I think it is hilarious. And I don't know how well that can translate from Japanese to English, but hopefully they do a good job on it. I feel like these days, a lot of dubs are very well done. And like I said, I'm excited for it, I'm not sure if I'm going to watch the whole thing. I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy it, but for now I'm excited. I'm wishing for the best. And, even if it ends up not being my cup of tea, I just think that this anime reaching a wider audiences is great. Because it's an awesome anime, it's hilarious, and I think more people should watch it, so yeah. Alrighty, and with that being said, that brings us to the end of another news week. As usual, hopefully that was something you guys found interesting, entertaining, maybe you guys learned something this week, that sort of thing. As always, I like interacting with you guys. Let me know what you guys thought, that sort of thing, in the comment section below, right? But yeah, time to move on to the final segment of the podcast, which is, of course, the Content Creator Spotlight. And this week's content creator is a channel that is really professional looking and wow, all right? Currently sitting at 1,466 subs. They in no way need my help, but I still want to give them a shout out because I think they are an awesome channel. And I am, of course, talking about Film Histories. Now, Film Histories is this guy who talks about film history. But the way he does it is really cool because I swear, even on his newest video, I even put it. I feel like it's the kind of things that you would watch at film school. Because the way he teaches everything and talks about everything is very educational and very informative. It's really cool, right? So for instance, in his latest episode, he talks all about Italian neo-realism. Now, what it is, you'd have to watch the video because I'm not good at explaining all this. But yeah, he shows clips and he talks about what Italian neorealism is. Because I don't know if you guys know it, but when it comes to making movies, there's all sorts of different, theories, and there's all sorts of different styles and all sorts of different backgrounds for different eras of film, that sort of thing. And yeah, if you watch his channel, he teaches you about all this. Whether it's Italian neorealism or, poetic realism, or I'm just looking at his different titles. He talks about all these different eras and all these different things, in film. And yeah, stuff isn't always just foreign film. There's an episode he did about a month ago where he talks about the film Clerks. And that's really interesting because he talks about the history of that film, how it got made, that sort of thing. He's talked about Back to the Future, which that was a really interesting video. He talks about how the movie was made, the history of it, that sort of thing. And yeah, it's just a really interesting channel where I feel when you watch it, it's I don't know, it's attending a little mini film school or something. Because he's teaching you about, like I said, different eras, different movies, their impact on cinema as a whole. For instance, I'm staring right at it, but 3 weeks ago, he talked about Anatomy of a Murder, episode 39. And that was a really interesting video where he talks about this movie called Anatomy of a Murder and how at the time it was this super controversial film because it talks about, a court case, in really super technical details. And at the time, that was against the code of ethics and they couldn't show certain things and talk about certain things. But it's all about how the director of this movie really pushed for it because he wanted to make it as realistic and as real as possible. And so I don't know. I know this is the kind of channel that won't be for everyone, but if you're a film nerd and you enjoy learning about film and, like I said, different eras and different beliefs and stuff, I think you'll enjoy this channel. I stop by it every so often, and every time that I watch one of his videos, I'm just so impressed with the knowledge he brings to the table, and yeah, I don't really know what else to say, but Film Histories, if you're listening to this, I think your channel is great. I think that the knowledge you bring to the table is incredible, and as I said in your newest video, I think this is the kind of stuff that they should show in film schools. I know you said that basically you're kind of showing stuff that you yourself saw in film school, but what I mean is that if they took a small chunk of each class to be hey, watch this guy's video, he explains and summarizes stuff. I don't think anyone would argue because your stuff is great. And for those of you listening, as I said, I know his channel won't be for everybody, but if you could check him out, give him some love, I think that would be awesome. So yeah. Alrighty, and with that being said, that brings us once again to the end of the podcast. That is one more in the bag. As usual, I know it's kind of annoying how maybe I repeat myself a lot, but hopefully this was a good podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed whether it was me talking about stuff I watched this week, or it was the news, or it was the content creator spotlight. Hopefully that was something that, you guys liked and you guys enjoyed the podcast. So with that being said, I am working very hard to do more stuff on my channel. Behind the scenes, I've actually been working on recording a Let's Play, and I'm about 70% done recording that Let's Play. And after that, you know, I need to like enter into the stage of editing and putting like the thumbnail together, all that good stuff. But that's something I hope to put on the channel, hopefully really soon. And yeah, just stuff like that, where I'm just working on all sorts of background stuff because I want to bring new content to the channel. This coming up week, I have a video that I'm basically, I think it's actually ready to render, and it's going to be a movie review, which it's something I talked about on one of the podcasts. So, I mean, I don't know, look forward to that, I guess. And yeah, like I said, just so much stuff going on, really excited, but yeah. I mean, I'm hoping to be back next week, guys, and until next time, my name is the Wannabe Reviewer, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.
This was a triumph. I'm making a note here, huge success. It's hard to overstate my satisfaction. Aperture science. We do what we must because we can. For the good of all of us, except the ones who are dead. But there's no sense crying over every mistake. You just keep on trying till you run out of cake. And the science gets done, and you make a neat gun for the people who are still alive. I'm not even angry. I'm being so sincere right now. Even though you broke my heart and killed me and tore me to pieces and threw every piece into a fire. As they burned, it hurt because I was so happy for you. Now these points of data make a beautiful line, and we're out of beta, we're releasing on time. So I'm glad I got burned. Think of all the things we learned for the people who aren't still alive. Go ahead and leave me. I think I prefer to stay inside. Maybe you'll find someone else to help you. Maybe Black Mesa. That was a joke, haha, fat chance. Anyway, this cake is great, it's so delicious and moist. Look at me still talking when there's science to do. When I look out there, it makes me glad I'm not you. I've experiments to run.